Movie boys.
There we have it. With our wonderful intro, we're ready to kick off.
Everything I hoped it would be.
Isn't it phenomenal? All we hoped for and more. We'll start this off. I have pinned a message just out of the way. Be a bit less interactive with chat, certainly at the beginning on the streaming side of things, but we will go back over all your messages towards the end. If there's any movie-related questions, certainly feel free to throw them out there, and we'll incorporate them as part of the recording. But we'll take a few minutes at the end, post-recording, and catch up with everything in chat. So don't think you're being ignored. You're not. It's just due to the format. But getting that out of the way, Godus, Movie Boys podcast. First episode. We did it somehow. We're here, just about.
No expense was spared for the introduction, clearly.
Obviously not. I think I was the dodgier one. I've been suffering a stomach bug the past few days, and was dragging myself out of my sick bed in not a very speedy manner. But not feeling too bad, all things said. Not feeling too bad. Good, as we said, we'd start off the podcast by doing a general kind of what we're watching at the moment kind of thing. So do you want to lead off on that? Tell us what shows you've been looking at, or what movies, what you've been into lately?
Yeah, so obviously, for those that don't know, I'm Godus. Hello. And I have two small kids. So a lot of what I watch is what they want to watch. A lot of Paw Patrol. We're going to go see the Paw Patrol movie in theaters, limited time only. But outside of that, just trying to catch up on anime. That's been my big thing. Trying to catch up on anime. And I think probably a lot of people can relate to when you start a series, you start watching, you might taper off and get pulled in another direction, and you start another series, and then before you know it, you have like 4 or 5 shows that you haven't really finished, and trying to close all those chapters.
Oh, very good. I'm actually I'm a bit better about that, finishing things when I start them for the most part. Although I did finish Naruto Shippuden not that long ago, and I have mentioned a few times through the thing, but that was a bit of a slog.
That's a robust anime to watch.
Yeah. 500 episodes. It's not short. Not short. I've moved on from that anime-wise onto Fate Stay Night, which I'm really enjoying actually. And that's something like, I think, 26 episodes. It's a lot more shorter, a lot more reasonable. The most recent movie I watched outside this podcast was Logan, which was excellent. It's an X-Men movie about Wolverine. Very good one. We might look at this show somewhere down the line. Other than that, then I've been watching the usual classic shows that I tend to rotate around a bit. South Park, your Frasers, your Stargate SG-1s, and your Star Trek Next Generations all get kind of...
You watch Stargate?
An episode a week thrown in. Did you not?
I had no idea. I
don't think I've ever mentioned it to you.
This is brand new information.
Don't think I've ever mentioned it to you. But that's kind of what I'm watching. A broad spectrum. Stargate and Star Trek I tend to kind of watch through. South Park and Frasier I felt just both overdue watch. I actually watched them in a fairly chilled out manner. I try to get out an episode a week in.
I realized I gave almost like a politician answer. I answered the question without answering the question. Specifically what I've been watching, or at least trying to finish up. Soul Eater is one of the animes I got to finish up. I've got a couple more episodes of Hell's Paradise to finish from the last season, and then also Spy X Family. I've got a couple of straggling episodes there to finish, and then also Rosario X Dawson, I think, is another one I got to finish, and the new Bleach Thousand Year, the last arc is being released now. We're 3 episodes in. So I read the manga a long time ago, but finishing that up as it comes out. So that one I'm actually caught up with, which is a miracle.
It's impressive. You've listed out a whole bunch of animes there, none of which I've seen, most of which I haven't heard of.
Yeah, those are they're all very interesting, and like Rosario Dawson, like that's like a romance anime that a mutual friend of ours, Ronnie, recommended to me. She insisted I watch it, so I figured I'd give it a shot. Now I'm too far in to not finish it. It's not
Yeah,
bad. It's good.
I know the way, I know the way. Will we jump on to our next section? We don't have any bumpers or any fancy stuff like that yet, but what we wanted to do with this podcast, one of the things we wanted to do was bring you a little bit of news here and there, and we're not going to go kind of too wacky with it or too in depth, but we thought it'd be kind of a good thing if we each picked out a little just a little story from around the place. It doesn't necessarily have to be the most recent thing in the world, but a little story to movies that we thought was relevant. And I would say Godis has probably picked the more interesting one, so you can
I,
lead off
I
with
don't know
that,
that
God.
mine is more interesting,
Do
but
you
yeah, I
not?
mean,
Well, we'll get to mine, but and I'll tell you why I think mine is a bit interesting. But
I think so. Yeah, I think yeah, we've got a little bit of news that we're going to cover on each podcast related to the industry, and um, there's a lot to choose from. But I wanted to just kind of briefly touch on the ongoing Paramount purchasing of Warner Brothers deal. So for those that are unfamiliar, back in February, Paramount beat out Netflix to buy Warner Brothers for $111 billion. It's like 110.8 if you want to be exact. And just a little timeline of it. April, the shareholders of Warner Brothers approved it. In June, the United States Department of Justice cleared it. In August, the UK authorities cleared it. There's still an ongoing antitrust lawsuit in the States, and that is to go to trial in March of 2027. Basically, they're just, there's concerns about when you have two big studios merging like that, does that reduce market competition? They're worried about the effects it's going to have on movie theaters and job losses. So we'll see how that plays out over time, but it's certainly an interesting purchase for Paramount, and it would give Paramount, I think, probably the thing that will be most interesting is what happens with DC stuff going forward, because that is a Warner Brothers property.
that was one of my thoughts. They have a lot of other things as well, obviously, but what immediately came to mind would be great is that one less streaming service I potentially have to pay for. Which is a very selfish kind of take on it. But I also wondered, could Paramount somehow influence Warner Brothers and DC specifically to be able to do a decent superhero movie somehow? But then they don't really need that outside influence. They do phenomenal animated superhero movies. They just can't do it with actual actors, it seems, for whatever reason.
Yeah, I feel like the DC movies are... I feel like every time DC does a live action movie with a mainstay hero, a Batman, a Superman, it just never lives up to expectations. And then when they do like some more offshoot stuff,
the Nolan trilogy was good. The most recent Superman movie was actually
probably about the last really good set that they did.
The most recent Superman movie wasn't bad, actually. It was pretty good, I thought.
Haven't seen it. We're gonna have to maybe add that to the list here.
Fair enough. Yeah, in terms of that, I guess what I would hope for it be if Netflix or Paramount that have bought it, it'd be nice to have all the DC stuff in one place, because Warner Brothers content is a bit scattered to the wind at the moment.
It is, yeah. It can be hard to track down certain things. So
from a pure selfish point of view, that's good. But then again, less competition, bad. So yeah, it's a mixed it's a mixed bag, really.
Mixed bag, yeah. And I get both sides of the argument there. So we're just gonna have to. My guess is it's going to work itself out and it'll get approved. It'll just be a question of when.
Well, if the Paramount deal is shut down, does that mean Netflix are back to getting it? I don't even know how that would work.
if Netflix gets it, I don't know that it undoes
The
any of the
same
concerns that they
damage. Yeah.
have. I feel like it's a same problem just elsewhere. So
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting. My story was something completely different and a lot more, well, I thought light-hearted anyway, certainly. And it is that Atari have for somehow made a deal with Universal to license 10 of their properties to get made as movies. Now, I want to go through these 10 properties because I have them all here in front of me in a list. Because they're not necessarily ones. I've tried to picture some of these in my head and I never got very far. But the 10 properties that Universal have paid for to make into movies are Asteroids, Adventure, Berserk, Breakout, Centipede, Crystal Castles, Millipede, Missile Command, Pong, and Yar's Revenge. Goodness, where do you go with any of these? What kind of movies do you make?
who was it that did there was like a series of shorts, like films, very short, and there was one that was like Pac-Man. And it was actually really kind of dark and well done. I mean, I don't know what you do with
Pac-Man would be
the
advanced
Pong
compared to
movie.
any of these titles.
Yeah, like I don't know what you do with Pong or Breakout.
I can see
certainly an obscure.
Centipede and Millipede as potentially being like Godzilla type movies or something,
Yeah, I mean, I
but
think that's about all you could really do with that, right? Like giant monster.
like Missile Command, maybe there's something where like a whole heap of missiles are being launched by someone and you have to defend against it. But like I don't know. It's why I kind of picked this story because I know we're doing a video game movie, so it's kind of on theme, but it just struck me as a bizarre thing. Is this a case of we're going to get these licenses because someone else might get them and do something with them? Like, I just can't
You know,
see the potential
just,
in them.
just put them in your back pocket for a rainy day.
It's not to say that we won't say something or we won't see a Uwe Boll type effort where it's I'm going to take a video game property and make something completely different.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a time in 2026 you're getting news from Atari is always a little out of left field.
Yeah, I picked it because it just struck me as so strange, such an odd story. Like
it is an odd choice. Yeah, I don't. I feel like, yeah, I feel like I could see Pong for sure getting made into a movie, and it being
I could see
very loosely based on Pong,
or I could
and
see a
probably
Pong.
being atrocious.
Yeah, I could see a documentary either about the first couple of world champions of Pong or something like that, maybe.
No way it doesn't star like some awful C rank actor.
Like Billy Mitchell or someone will be involved.
Billy Mitchell. Oh my God, yes.
We love you, Billy. Don't sue us.
Oh man, this podcast lasted one episode. Incredible.
Yep, we did great. We did great.
If you guys don't know the Billy Mitchell saga, go look it up on YouTube. We're not going to talk about it here. But
no, certainly not. That's a whole other.
Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. But it's a rabbit hole you could really go down.
I think I didn't have any other news to bring up. I think we said we'd keep it a story each. So
yeah.
We can launch. We can launch into our main event. Yeah, we can launch into our main event. Something I was quite insistent when we were concepting this thing out was that the Sonic movie was going to be the first movie. That was just it.
I had a feeling when we were talking about this that you were going to open with that.
Yeah, so that was kind of a done deal. The way we do it is we each pick every second movie, and we'll have guests on sometimes, and they can pick a movie of their own, so that'll be up in the air. But for the moment, it'll be we each do every other movie, and the idea is if I pick a movie, which I have, pick Sonic the Hedgehog, that Gotus will give us a little plot summary. So, Gus, allow you to step in and give us a little plot summary of Sonic the Hedgehog.
I think overall, I'll do the summary. I do want to touch really quickly just to expand on what you were talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So for one of our rules, and maybe we could talk about this later, but The movies we will watch chronologically, but we won't do them back to back. We're gonna have like what did we agree, a 2 month gap between
Yeah,
between
between
series. So yeah,
sequels.
before
Yeah,
we can watch Sonic 2, we got to have 2 months. That way the podcast doesn't become dominatingly one in,
yeah. We use like
one series.
I think
The
we use
Fast and
Fast and the
Furious as
Furious
an
as an
example where
example
there's
where like the podcast just becomes that for a number of months, and I certainly don't want that. I've never seen any of those movies, interestingly enough.
so I wanted to touch on that just to expand on it a little bit. Okay, so we watched the 2020 blockbuster hit from Paramount and Sega, the Sonic movie. It was my first time watching the Sonic movie. I had never watched it before. And I went into this really open-minded. I am I watch movies from like a very far distance out. I take the movie in as a whole piece of work, and I try not to look at things too critically. I don't really nitpick details. But I wanted to really look at this movie for the purpose of being able to do a really good podcast review and kind of dive into it. Um, and really, as far as a summary of the movie goes, I mean, I think we all know that video game adaptations of movies tend not to go well. And I would say they nailed it on this one because we are following along with a little extraterrestrial hedgehog named Sonic, as you would imagine, um, as he hiding out in a small town and struggling to deal with his loneliness. And in dealing with that loneliness, he has some heightened emotions. Those emotions then cause a devastating EMP, which attracts the US government's top and arguably weirdest scientist to track its source down. And in that, you get Sonic going on this fun adventure with his new friend, Tom Wachowski, the local sheriff, and trying to stay one step ahead of Dr. Robotnik and the military and the US government while they both end up kind of fulfilling some bucket list items and ultimately save the day.
Very good. That's a nice, tidy little synopsis. There's right. I have a whole like list of a couple of more specific things we get into. One is actually mentioned there by I know is that we won't be engaging with chat too much, but Spitzies has brought it up in chat, and it's my first point.
I saw it too, and I was like, I actually have a whole bullet point about this.
Yeah, it's my very first point that I had to bring up was the kind of the original horror Sonic that they released, and kind of after being memed to death somehow backtracked on and gave us a like a much more traditional looking Sonic, which normally I would say if you're listening to like if you're taking fan feedback or internet feedback particularly about a movie, you're probably on the wrong track 90% of the time. You should have some sort of artistic vision and stick with it. In this specific instance, and it's nearly the exception that proves the rule, thank God they changed the design because it was horrible. It was absolutely dreadful.
I remember when this happened.
Oh, I just got about like 69 million messages
yeah,
from
I
everyone.
remember when it was released, and I remember when the controversy was happening about how bad Sonic looked. And I'm not. Look, anybody that knows Farrakho is a Sonic fanboy through and through. I am not. I like Sonic as a kid. I played the games, the original series, but I'm not a diehard Sonic. I don't have a big vested interest in Sonic, this movie at the time, or anything like that. And I'm one of those people that can be like, I don't care. Change the design, don't change the design. At the time, I was very indifferent. Having watched the movie now, and then going back, and I got on Google, and I was like, what did the original one look like? Because I couldn't even remember it at this point. Boy, was it bad. It was so bad. And, kudos to Paramount and Sega for they took a 3-month delay to redo that animation. So, they missed their original window. Is supposed to be 2019. At the end of 2019, it didn't release until February 2020 because of the changes. And there's actually some really interesting interviews and stuff that I read online. I was kind of looking through of staff members from the production team talking about what an absolute nightmare crunch time they ended up having because of these changes. But ultimately, it worked very well, and I think it also gave them a lot of points with fans.
It did that. It did that. And it's funny you mentioned the February release. The movie actually released on Valentine's Day. Um, just making Sonic an absolute, I don't know, romantic staple somehow in the movie industry.
You can't spell love without Sonic, I think.
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Couple other points I have. Baby Sonic, I wanted to mention real quick right at the start. Again, just extremely cute. Again, it would have looked horrendous with the other design apparently, but that little baby Sonic that we got was very cute. Interestingly enough, kidnapped or attempted to be kidnapped by echidnas or echidnas at the start. We might know one famous echidna that punches things.
It is possible. I did pick up on that. I was kind of trying to figure out where Longclaw fit into the lore of everything.
Nowhere really from the
Okay.
games. That is a kind of a movie character, but I guess it was someone to be a parent type figure for Sonic. Was my thought on that.
Yeah, I didn't know. We didn't really talk about how we were gonna kind of dive into this, but I had some key points on like character, plot, soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know if
yeah.
you just want to follow off of what I have,
We
but
can go through your notes. Yeah, you've done the
okay.
synopsis. Like I said, I have a couple of points here and there that I can jump in with, but mine are kind of just observations. More if you don't bring them up, I'll throw them in.
Yeah, perfect. So we have to talk about the characters and specifically the casting, and I think there's one that we really got to talk about, and that's Jim Carrey.
Yep,
Um, Jay Marsden, by the way, absolutely underrated casting.
yep. Did great.
Um,
Very
yeah,
very
did
good
very
for the
good.
role he's in.
Um,
But yeah, it's a
Jim
Jim.
Carrey,
This is a Jim Carrey movie.
absolutely. I mean, I grew up, I grew up in the 90s. I was born in the 80s. I grew up in the 90s. I grew up on Jim Carrey films. I watched Dumb and Dumber, I think, every night for like 2 years. I watched The Cable Guy, Ace Ventura. Those are like staple movies for me. And this was Jim Carrey at his peak.
Oh yeah, they gave him this role and they just said go ham with it. Like everything from his introduction where he's like just I guess razzing the army guy.
That right there was probably one of the funnier interactions in the entire movie. Even the kind of jarring put in for humor, and I always have to take a step back. Like, it's a kids movie at the end, so there is just going to be kind of some silliness that doesn't really fit in necessarily with the movie. But like the dancing
Oh yeah, that was
in
great.
the like that whole scene like was kind of like what's going on here? Like, why are we doing this? But even that is just Jim Carrey nails it so well.
Yeah, he's great. Another character I love that's kind of a bit underrated is his assistant, Agent Stone. Yeah, he's just like very good, very very good.
Yeah, he keeps the deadpan through that movie very well.
And it feeds onto the bit about the dancing where he kind of comes up and interrupts him. He's like, "Sir, would you like a latte?" And he's like, "Of course I want a latte. I love how you make them." And he's kind of yelling it at him.
Yeah, that was I needed to check because I actually didn't have that actor's name readily available. Lee Majab, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, is Agent Stone
Yeah, did an
in that
excellent
movie.
job.
Nailed that. I don't know what else he's in though. Oh, he's in Arrow, Once Upon a Time, Supernatural. Okay, side
Yeah,
note there.
sci-fi stuff. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they nailed the casting. Um, I did want to point out universally one of the absolute sins of the movie, and that is the foundation of the entire plot of anybody wanting to move to San Francisco.
It's a very American take.
That is 8 billion other places in California are very nice to live. It instantly took me out of it. Nobody wants to move to San Francisco. I needed to say that.
Fair enough. Even to, and I'll push back on that a little bit and say even to advance a law enforcement career.
No, I mean I'm sure lots of people would go there for any kind of opportunity. For me, it's just funny because my parents lived in the Bay Area, and there's so many nice areas like just outside of San Francisco that nobody ever hears about, and they're gorgeous. But the idea of like this whole movie being based on somebody wanting to move to San Francisco was funny to me.
Fair enough. Had you further points, Goddess?
Yeah, I mean, not in character discussion. I mean, I did want to talk about a little bit about exposition in a movie, and for those that may not be familiar with what exposition is, um, exposition is simply how a filmmaker shares background information in a movie, how it talks to you about a setting or a character's past or the rules of the world itself. And good exposition, feels really natural, while bad exposition is stuff that feels really forced on you. And I really want to say this movie had both. It had some excellent expositions that were really well done. I think the flashback scene with Longclaw um, is a phenomenal way to kind of get you hooked, get you kind of the background on Sonic a little bit. It gives you a little bit. It builds the character. It introduces you to the concept of the rings and their importance. And then you also have, the exposition of learning along Sonic what happens when he gets emotional when he's on the baseball field, kind of struggling with his loneliness. And then I think there's also some points of like bad exposition. Again, it's a kids movie. I'm not really knocking it for this, but anytime you have that kind of intro, like, hey, it's me, you're probably wondering how I got here. Like, that's just very forced exposition, or anytime they're kind of like breaking through that fourth wall a little bit. I find jarring, but
Yeah, I can see that, and it's interesting because from memory now, it's a while since I've watched the second and third ones, but I think it's the only instance of them doing it in the entire kind of franchise. Just at the very beginning of the first one.
yeah. So I mean, I think that was kind of that, and then also there are some points where you have Dr. Robotnik, who's when talking to Stone or talking to Tom and like talking about a bully in the past. Those kind of moments, like, yeah, you're getting lore of the character, you're getting kind of like a feel for the character, its past, but it just feels like it's said to be said, not for really any particular purpose. But
Yeah, it's interesting because I would take those lines and I would take them as like obviously not literal. I don't think like that Robotnik actually had a childhood bully that he ended up beating up so badly that he drank out of a straw or whatever it is he said. Like
yeah,
I would take it that didn't actually happen. That it's just him like hamming it up.
So that was kind of my, as far as the narrative goes and the plot goes. Soundtrack was phenomenal. I am really keen on soundtrack. It can make or break a movie. Just look at any kind of iconic scene that you could still hear, and you could hear the Jurassic Park theme,
Yeah.
a John Williams score when you see it. Uh, you know, Good music, I think, in a film it's immersive. It's not jarring. It doesn't break you out of the movie.
I think yeah, they had some Queen and stuff, and they didn't.
I was gonna say the Queen is always like anytime you have like a real song in there. Again, it's a movie. it's a soundtrack. It doesn't bother me too much. Queen is my favorite band of all time, so I'll never knock a film for using a Queen song. Period.
Yeah, they didn't go very heavy on the licensed music though. They
Which
kept
I was glad
them.
to see.
Yeah, they kept a kind of mix of, and I think it was to try keep everyone happy, a mix of licensed music and a mix of kind of some obviously Sonic music in there, of which there's plenty as well that they had variations of. So yeah, no, I think they did well on the soundtrack front.
Yeah, the soundtrack, the sound effects too. And I know we're not gonna super engage with chat right away, but just to kind of Gecko kind of jogged my memory there. There's that scene where Sonic is coming off of the building after he tries to save Tom from Dr. Robotnik, where he pushes him off the building and he saves them and he hits the ground, and you get that one iconically done animation of like the rings popping out of him like you would in the game. It was very
Yeah,
done, like
it's a
very well
clever
done.
way of
But
doing
also
it.
like
Yeah,
the sound effects were bang on the right sound effects for that scene. So I the sound team of that film did really, really good. And then, the other big thing for me, I don't know if there's anything else you want to touch on there, but I did want to talk about character development a little bit,
yeah, for sure.
because there's a lot more character development in this movie than I think you might notice in the beginning, or you would look at it and go, oh, it's a Sonic movie, it's a kids movie, it's a video game movie. It's really not this like immersive character development, but there actually is. And, maybe people can go back and watch it now and look at it in a different way, but Tom has like a natural progression. He has a past, he has a dream. Moving his character through the story works towards that dream. The plot naturally reveals a way for him to have the moment that he wants, that moment of somebody needing him, somebody needing him to step up and be the good guy, the hero. And that happens within the confines of the movie kind of organically. So you have that moment for Tom. And then also Sonic, has it's explicitly stated at the beginning of the movie by Longclaw that when Sonic's in trouble, he needs to run. That is information given to him by the only authority father figure that he knows and trusts. So you would think that that would always just stick with him, but over the course of the movie, Sonic evolves and he decides that he doesn't want to run and he wants to face Dr. Robotnik, and he has this fundamental shift in his thinking. He's not told to stay and fight Dr. Robotnik. He learns that he wants to fight Dr. Robotnik. So it's very subtle, and you don't maybe appreciate it so much because it's a kids movie and it's a, kind of a feel good movie, a lighthearted movie, but there's actually quite a bit of character development there.
For sure, Gus. The only thing I'd add to that is, and you kind of touched on it without actually, I think, explicitly mentioning it, but it was he wanted to fight Dr. Robotnik to protect his friends, which was something he never had before either. So
Exactly.
that was some more development.
And you're not going to get that with every single character. You're not going to get that really with like an antagonist as much as you get it with a protagonist. So like Dr. Robotnik, he is kind of a crazy hellbent obsessed science freak in the beginning, and he is a crazy hellbent science freak at the end.
Yeah, I was going to touch on his character development as well, though. Even aesthetically, if nothing else, you can see at the end, the final post-credit scene, he has the big wacky mustache, he's shaved himself bald, and he's kind of like, he's on the mushroom planet. He has two amazing quotes, both of which I wrote down from that little scene, and it probably covers about 3/4 of what I say, but they're both A1. I think the very first line he says when it cuts to him on the mushroom planet is, my grasp of sanity is absolute." It's just kind of like you can see he's like losing his mind altogether.
But yeah.
So it's excellent that he starts off with that. And the second one is, "A lesser man would die here. I'll be home by Christmas."
That was a great line, by the way.
Yep, really, really good. Like, it sets it up that he'll be back. Did you have, while we're on post-credit scenes, do you want to touch on the second one, which introduced
Yeah,
Tails?
so my favorite character in the Sonic series is Tails. I was the little sibling growing up, so I was always Luigi, I was always Tails, I was always
The player 2 controller, yep.
yeah, I was always the player 2 controller. So, I always really liked Tails and was very excited. I struggled a bit because my autoplay I had the same problem last night actually. My autoplay kept pushing me out of that scene, so I had to go and find it again, because I was missing it the first watch through.
Yeah.
So, and I knew that there was post-credit scenes, so
It's a very short
um
little scene. It's just Tails is
yeah,
there
it's
and
short,
he's
and
he's
as
looking
soon
for
as I saw,
Sonic.
like, the whirling of, like, the leaves on the ground, I was like, "That's really well done," because I know exactly if you're a Sonic fan, you know exactly what that's gonna come from, and then
Yeah.
there he is.
Another point on that scene, if they had kept the original Sonic design, what do you think a similar Tails design would have looked like?
Oh, God. Nightmare-inducing.
Yep. Yep,
Yeah,
I
it
don't
would've
think
looked
we
like a
need to say any
chupacabra.
more.
Yeah, it would've looked horrid. Um,
Did you
yeah, I wonder if
have...
they have a sketch of early Tales. I wonder if that's out there somewhere.
There's like fan-made mock-up ones and they're horrible.
Oh, God, I can only imagine.
Did you have any other points, Godus, or will I dip into the
I
couple I
think the
have?
two things that I wanted to point
Okay.
out, I'm giving the film its flowers. There were actually two real critiques I have narratively speaking. Not the meme of moving to San Francisco. Obviously, again, it's a kids movie. I get that. It's not an airtight work of art. It's not Schindler's List. It's not Dancing with Wolves. Okay. One, I thought it was a little weird that your introduction to Dr. Robotnik is all about how great robots are and how unreliable humans are. And then the very next scene is him ordering humans and dogs out in the woods to go find more information alongside his robots. Um, it was just kind of one of those things that I noticed. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I thought he didn't want people to help. And then two, the other thing is they find the quill almost right away in the house. But he doesn't research it towards the end of the movie. He just kind of forgets that he has it. You would have thought for such an inquisitive mind, he would have remembered that was in Stone's pocket.
I never picked up on that. He has it on the Mushroom Planet, though. It does show that.
Yeah, but until it glows, he doesn't do anything with it.
He's using it to power his big ship as well.
Yeah, he uses it to power the ship after he researches it, but that's towards the end of the movie.
So you're just surprised that he didn't do that more quickly?
Yeah. I mean, it's a real nitpicky thing, but
no, it's interesting. Yeah, I guess I would take it if I were to defend it. He is in the ticket of chase, so left it until he had a bit more time. But yeah, it's a fair point.
Other than that, though, I mean, I think if you want to look at it from a whole, to me, the way that I judge a movie is, can you enjoy the narrative of the movie knowing the inevitable outcome? When you watch a movie like Sonic, the good guy is going to win, the bad guy is going to lose. Right away, Sonic is lonely. He's going to be friends with the main character. You know all that going into it. So knowing how the movie is going to end, can you enjoy it still? And yes, absolutely you can. I think it was overall a really good movie. Very surprising. I was very surprised by it.
Oh, that's good. That's good, and that's why I encourage more people to it. And I can only say the sequels do get better and better. And probably touch on
that is what I've heard.
Probably fix a couple of your concerns. Actually, there were two other little points, and they're just little Easter eggs that I wanted to mention. It's shown a good few times throughout the movie, but I enjoyed Sonic reading the Flash comics. I just thought that was a fun.
I did notice that as well.
That was a fun little touch. It's just like, yeah, of course Sonic would be into the Flash. Like, who else is he going to be into? It just made a lot of sense. The other thing is, and it was particularly funny given Sonic 3 casting, which we'll touch on time. We won't get into massive spoilers, but the little Keanu reference.
Yes,
I was kind of like, they're watching Speed, and it's kind of like, oh, Keanu, he's a national treasure.
Yeah, I caught that right away, especially because I know how much you have been very vocal about that casting in Sonic. I think it was really well done and kind of a nice little bit of Easter egg foreshadowing, whether it was
Yeah,
intentional or not.
I have to feel it wasn't like you couldn't plan 2 movies ahead for a video game movie series in particular and say we're going to get Keanu to be a character
Yeah, I don't
sometime
think
in the
so.
future. Like I don't think that's realistic. But I thought it was a very good little touch. And the last one that I had was just the traditional that they did get in a chili dog reference. I think it was in the hotel room after the bar fight scene.
Yes, I was waiting for it because I remember you remember the animated series of Sonic,
Yeah,
I'm
of
sure, from
course.
when
Yeah,
you were a kid, and that was like very chili dog
yeah.
dependent in that cartoon all the time. There was always chili dog references, so I was kind of anticipating it, and I'm glad. Again, that's another example of like something that could have been really forced on you and like thrown in the movie a lot. I think
Yeah,
they
they
did that
kept it fairly
little
light.
reference. Yeah, kept it light. I enjoyed it, and it made me want a chili dog.
They kept it fairly light. Yeah, those were really the couple of extra observations I had. As I said, I didn't want to didn't want to go too overboard pointing out every little thing, but yeah, I just thought all them little Easter eggs, and they were all just very nice touches. All very nice touches. Another thing I enjoyed was them showing a lot of the video games at the start as well. The Sega ones, not just Sonic, but
Like that splash screen.
yeah, Golden Axe
Yeah, that and then
and
also the end too, there was like the clips.
yeah, they did the end credits at the video game style animation. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I
was
really
really good
like
as
that.
well. Yeah, yeah, nice little touch. Um, if you don't have anything to add, Gosh, we might jump into and see what questions we can pick out from chat.
Yeah, so we will take any other questions from chat that we missed or that you guys wanted to ask or have us expand on. And then
Yeah.
I do have a homework assignment for chat as well. So
Oh,
in regards to the next movie. So
very good, very good.
um let's see, there was a couple
So
of things here.
in terms of
Also, hello to everyone in
questions,
chat, by the way, that was saying hello.
yeah, hello. We we are keeping it kind of on track with the podcast, and we'll take a few minutes at the end when
I'm
we kind of
proud of us. I thought we would get way more sidetracked with chat. I fully expected me to at least.
uh, doing the best not to, and actually typing into chat occasionally helps a bit. I think one question I see we did kind of touch on Spitzy's question about the horror Sonic, so that's kind of fine. Gecko's one about the thoughts on using rings as a means of teleportation because that is not really from the games at all. That is a very movie specific thing.
Yeah, I did actually. That's right, because Gecko did ask that, and um, funny that the donuts also look a lot in shape to that of the rings. Yeah, that is kind of. I didn't even kind of picks up that symbolism there, Gecko. I thought it was well done. I actually liked the concept that the rings have a purpose. Um, because I don't think, and you've played every Sonic game 800 times. I
Oh,
don't know that there is any reference in any of the games or manuals that the rings have a purpose. So
they're kind of to keep you alive. There was that the darker Sonic cartoon, the one that was like you might remember it, the one that was surprisingly dark, where it was like Robotnik had taken over the world and was turning like all the animals into robots, and it would occasionally show like people getting captured and turned into robots. It was this surprisingly dark. But the thing was, the Sonic used to go hunting for a ring so that he could like invade Robotnik space because he'd be really powered up when he had one.
okay, so
Um,
there is a mention somewhere that they have a purpose, but yeah,
yeah,
I thought the teleportation of via the rings was clever. I liked it.
yeah. Even how his rings got lost, where he's kind of tranquilized and just sees San Francisco on the T-shirt, and because that's what he's thinking, that's where the teleporting goes, and it's where the rings all end up when he drops it into it. That
Yeah,
was kind of cleverly
I
done.
I liked that. I liked that how they ended up there and that whole sequence of them getting up to the top with him in the bag. I thought was quite funny. when they're going up the elevator. I felt like they had a really good use during that final sequence where he's fighting Robotnik and he's kind of inadvertently he's hitting his bucket list items, that he wants to go to Paris, he wants to run on
Yep.
the Great Wall, those things that you could see on the list, and he's hitting all those as he's doing it. I thought was a clever use of tying that bucket list that he had written out to the purpose of the rings, to the confines of the movie with fighting Robotnik.
Yeah, it was kind of I don't want to get too deep into movie theory, but your Chekhov's gun kind of thing, where it shows you this stuff and then proceeds to use it. But Chekhov's gun, in very simple terms, is you shouldn't produce a gun unless it's going to be used.
Yeah. It was, nothing was wasted there.
Yeah, it was good that it used it all. We have from Jordan.
Which one is better, the Sonic movie or Sonic X Shadow Generations?
I mean, they're both very different things. I love them both in very different ways. We might go with that.
I can't answer that question. Also, from Terry Miller, how long are you going to grow your beard, Farco?
I have no intention of shaving it at the moment. That's about as specific as I can be.
There you go.
Shaving is one of them things that you just wake up one day and say, screw this, I'm going to shave.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, but then constant shaving is an annoyance, so I always keep that in the back of my head.
I go to a barber.
Let them do it. That's clever.
Yeah.
That's clever.
Yeah, I just go to a barber now.
All right then, we're probably close to wrapping up then, Goris. Next week's movie is one of your choice. Do you want to tell us what it is? And you mentioned about having a homework assignment for chat.
Yeah, so this being our first episode, we want to make sure we get some feedback on it, what you guys felt about the movie discussions. Let us know. And, how did we go too deep? Did we not go deep enough? I think we'd love to get some feedback.
Absolutely.
So we kind of, get how everybody feels about it. Next week's movie, this was kind of coincidental that we're doing 2 video game movies back to back, but I felt like it was a good way to kind of segue, especially Farco being a Twitch gamer, myself being a Twitch gamer, and a lot of the people that like to watch playing video games. He went with his favorite franchise, Sonic. I knew he was going to do that. And then I instantly jumped into my favorite franchise. So our movie for next week is going to be the 2005 critically decisive masterpiece from Sony and Square Enix, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children.
Yeah, which I haven't watched in quite a while, so I'm looking forward to giving that a rewatch.
I honestly don't know if I've ever watched it. I watched the first Final Fantasy movie, which...
Spirits Within, yeah.
Yeah, Spirits Within, which Farco and I both agreed is not really sequential to this. Much like the Terminator movies, in which there are only 2 as far as we're concerned. This is the start of any Final Fantasy movies.
Yeah, Spirits Within. See, I think Spirits Within. I don't know. We're not going to get into that too much, but I think it looked pretty at the time. Even graphically, it probably hasn't held up brilliantly. And the story, the story was not super good. Like it was, I think it was a technical showcase more than a plot.
That's the way I always felt about it. It was done because they could, not for really any other reason.
Yep. That's it. Just to mention as well, I set up a section on Discord, a Movie Boys section. So that is there for anyone that wants. And I think, we'll end the recording there. We're at
55 minutes. Bang on.
And I did say keeping them to an hour under is kind of where we want to be. So that's pretty good. We will see you for the next one next week, which will be Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. For those of you in the chat, we will loop back around and say hello to everyone. Take a few minutes to do that. But yeah, first episode done, Goodus. Congrats.
Congrats. Cheers. Yeah, excellent.
And see you for the next one. Bye.
Peace.